Dolly Parton forgives almost everyone, but there are three names she'll never speak again. What if I told you the kindest woman in show business has spent 60 years protecting people who didn't deserve protection? What if I told you she's finally revealing who stabbed her in the back when she was most vulnerable? And what if I told you the betrayals weren't about money or fame? They were personal violations so deep that even Dolly's legendary grace couldn't overcome them. Some say Dolly Parton is a saint. Others say she's the only genuine person left in Hollywood. But what if the truth is that behind those rhinestones and that million-dollar smile, she's been carrying wounds from people she trusted who turned her kindness into weakness? Her name is Dolly Parton, 79 years old, 10 Grammys, 50 albums, and the autobiography she's writing contains a chapter her publisher tried to cut 3 times, because naming names isn't the Dolly Parton brand. But Dolly told them, "I've spent my whole life being nice. At 79, I'm choosing truth." Because the interviews are documented, the witnesses have gone on record, and today you'll hear exactly who betrayed Dolly Parton and why she's only now ready to say their names out loud. This isn't gossip. This isn't score settling. This is what happens when a woman who's made kindness her entire identity finally admits that some people weaponize that kindness against her. January 2026, Dolly Parton's office at her Dollywood headquarters in Tennessee. She's working on her autobiography with a ghostwriter she's trusted for years. Standard celebrity memoir, rags to riches, music career, philanthropy. And then the writer asks, "Is there anyone in your career you wish you'd never worked with?" Dolly stopped, put down her pen, and said something that shocked the writer into silence. "Honey, I've spent 6 decades protecting people who hurt me because I thought that's what good Christians do. But protecting bad people just enables them to hurt others. So yes, there are 3 people I wish I'd never met, and I'm finally ready to say why." What followed was 2 hours of Dolly detailing betrayals that happened in the 1970s, 1980s, and 2000s. Stories she's never told publicly, names she's never revealed, pain she's carried in silence because speaking up felt unchristian. The manuscript is still being finalized, but sources who've seen it say the chapter is titled "When Kindness Becomes Complicity," and it's the most unfiltered writing Dolly has ever allowed under her name. To understand who betrayed Dolly, you need to understand what makes her betrayable. Because Dolly's not naive. She's one of the shrewdest businesswomen in entertainment, owns her masters, built an empire, negotiated deals that made men in suits underestimate her, then regret it. But Dolly operates on trust. She believes people when they give their word. She assumes good intentions until proven otherwise, and she gives second, third, and fourth chances because that's how she was raised. "I was brought up to see the best in people," Dolly writes in the manuscript. "My mama taught me that everyone deserves grace, and I took that lesson seriously, maybe too seriously." The 3 people who betrayed Dolly didn't do it through contracts or legal maneuvering. They did it by exploiting her personal trust, by taking something she gave freely and using it to hurt her. And in Dolly's moral universe, that's unforgivable. The producer who stole her songs. Let's start with the one that nearly destroyed Dolly's early career. 1974. Dolly was transitioning from country music to crossover pop success. She'd written a catalog of songs that would become classics, but she was still financially vulnerable, still dependent on industry gatekeepers. A producer, Dolly names him explicitly in the manuscript, approached her about working together. He had connections, distribution power, and he promised to help Dolly reach audiences beyond country radio. Dolly was excited. This was her shot at breaking through. So she did what she always did. She trusted. The producer asked to hear some of Dolly's unreleased material, demo recordings, songs she was developing but hadn't finalized, standard industry practice. Artists share works in progress all the time. Dolly played him 3 songs, including one that would later become a massive hit. She sang them live in his office, just her voice and guitar, shared them because she thought they were collaborating. 6 months later, Dolly heard one of her songs on the radio, not her version, someone else singing it, with the producer credited as co-writer. "I called him immediately," Dolly writes, asked him what happened, and he told me I must be confused, that the song was his, that maybe I'd heard him singing it and thought it was mine. Dolly knew that was a lie. She had dated notebooks with lyrics, witnesses who'd heard her perform the song months before the producer's version appeared. But proving it would require lawyers, money, and public conflict, things Dolly didn't have at the time. So the producer got away with it, kept the song, kept the royalties. And when Dolly tried to record her own version later, he threatened legal action, claiming she was stealing from him. That experience taught me that kindness without contracts is just free labor for thieves, Dolly writes, and I never made that mistake again. The producer's name is in the manuscript. He's still alive, still working in Nashville, and according to sources, he's already hired attorneys to challenge Dolly's account. But Dolly has the receipts, the notebooks, the witnesses, the timeline. And at 79, she's decided she doesn't care if he sues. The truth matters more than peace. The actress who sabotaged her film debut. This one is more personal, because it's not about money. It's about cruelty disguised as professionalism. 1980, Dolly made her film debut in 9 to 5, alongside Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. The movie was a huge success, made Dolly a crossover star, proved she could act, not just sing. But according to Dolly's manuscript, the experience was nearly destroyed by a fourth actress who had a smaller role in the film, someone Dolly doesn't name in advance excerpts, but describes in detail. The actress, an established film star, apparently saw Dolly as competition, not for roles, for attention. She made it clear from day one that I didn't belong, Dolly writes. She'd make comments about my accent, my appearance, my lack of acting training, always framed as jokes, always with a smile. But the message was clear. I was an outsider. Dolly tried to win her over, brought her gifts, complimented her work, laughed at her jokes even when they hurt. It didn't help. If anything, it made things worse. The actress began undermining Dolly on set, whispering to the director during Dolly's takes, suggesting line changes that made Dolly's character look foolish, telling crew members that Dolly was difficult when Dolly was just trying to learn. One incident Dolly describes is particularly cruel. During a rehearsal, Dolly struggled with a line. Normal for a first-time actor. She asked for help. The actress responded, according to Dolly, by saying, "Maybe stick to singing, honey. Some of us actually studied this." Jane Fonda reportedly intervened, told the actress the comment was inappropriate, but the damage was done. I cried in my trailer that day, Dolly writes, not because of the comment, but because I'd tried so hard to be kind to her, and she used my kindness as permission to be cruel. The film's success meant Dolly had to do press with this actress, smile for photos, pretend they were friends, and Dolly did it, because professionalism mattered. But privately, she cut the actress out of her life completely. They've never spoken again. The actress's identity is redacted in excerpts, but people who worked on 9 to 5 are already speculating based on Dolly's descriptions. And the actress in question has apparently reached out to Dolly's team, asking for the chapter to be removed. Dolly's response, according to sources, "I didn't name you. If people figure it out, that's between you and your conscience." Person number 3, the business partner who exploited her charity. This is the betrayal that hurt Dolly most, because it involved her philanthropy, the thing she cares about more than music or fame. Early 2000s, Dolly was building her Imagination Library, the program that mails free books to children. It's become one of the most successful literacy initiatives in American history. To expand the program, Dolly partnered with a nonprofit leader, someone with experience in large-scale distribution, someone who came highly recommended. Dolly trusted this person with significant funds, millions of dollars earmarked specifically for books, shipping, and program infrastructure. For years, everything seemed fine. The program grew. More children received books. Dolly was thrilled. Then, an accountant noticed irregularities, money moving in ways that didn't make sense, expenses that seemed inflated. An audit revealed the truth. The business partner had been embezzling funds. Not all of it, just enough to avoid immediate detection, siphoning money into personal accounts while maintaining the appearance of running a successful program. When they told me, I didn't believe it, Dolly writes. I'd trusted this person completely, invited them into my home, treated them like family, and they stole from children. The betrayal wasn't just financial, it was moral. This person had looked Dolly in the eye, talked about helping kids, and stolen from the very program designed to give children opportunities. Dolly could have gone public, could have prosecuted, could have made an example of this person. Instead, she quietly removed them from the organization, restructured the finances, implemented new oversight, and never spoke their name publicly, until now. I stayed silent because I didn't want the scandal to hurt the imagination library, Dolly writes, but staying silent meant this person faced no real consequences, and I've learned that's not grace, that's enabling. The person's identity is in the manuscript. They've since left the nonprofit world entirely, and according to sources, they've been calling mutual contacts, begging Dolly to reconsider publishing the story. Dolly's answer? You had 20 years to come clean. You chose silence. So did I. Now, I'm choosing truth. But here's what makes Dolly's testimony different from other tell-alls. She's not just naming names. She's examining her own role in enabling bad behavior. I made it too easy for people to hurt me, Dolly writes. I thought being kind meant never setting boundaries, never saying no, never holding people accountable. And that's not kindness. That's cowardice dressed up as virtue. She talks about how her people-pleasing tendency, the same trait that made her beloved, also made her vulnerable. I wanted everyone to like me, so I let people cross lines I should have defended. And when they hurt me, I blame myself for not being kinder, for not trying harder. That self-reflection, the willingness to admit her own mistakes, is what makes the manuscript so powerful. Dolly's not playing victim. She's analyzing a pattern. Dolly also addresses the cultural expectation that women, especially Southern women, should always be nice. I was raised to believe that a woman's job is to make everyone comfortable, she writes, to smile even when you're hurting, to forgive even when you haven't received an apology, to put everyone else's feelings before your own. She talks about how that conditioning served her in many ways, made her approachable, likable, someone people wanted to work with, but it also made her a target. People saw my kindness and thought it meant weakness. They thought I wouldn't fight back because fighting isn't ladylike, and for a long time, they were right. Dolly's manuscript includes conversations with other women in the industry, private discussions about how they were similarly exploited, how their niceness was weaponized against them. We all had the same stories, Dolly writes. Different names, different details, but the same pattern. Be nice, get hurt, stay quiet, repeat. One section of the manuscript focuses on forgiveness, because Dolly's been public about forgiving everyone. It's part of her brand, part of her faith. But in this chapter, she draws a distinction between forgiveness and reconciliation. I can forgive someone and still choose not to have them in my life, Dolly writes. Forgiveness is for me. It releases me from carrying anger. But reconciliation requires both people to do work. And if the other person hasn't changed, reconciliation is just setting yourself up to be hurt again. She talks about the pressure she's faced to reconcile with people who've wronged her, family members, industry figures, fans who want neat, happy endings. People love a redemption story, Dolly writes. They want me to say I've forgiven everyone and we're all friends now. But that's not honest. I've forgiven these 3 people, but I'll never trust them again. And I'll never pretend otherwise. Dolly also reveals that she's used these experiences to inform how she runs her businesses now. After the producer stole her songs, Dolly became obsessive about documentation. Everything in writing, everything witnessed, nothing on trust alone. After the actress sabotaged her on set, Dolly learned to identify professional jealousy early, to create distance from people who saw her success as a threat. After the business partner embezzled from her charity, Dolly implemented financial controls that make theft nearly impossible. Multiple oversight layers, regular audits, no single person with unchecked access. These betrayals made me smarter, Dolly writes, not harder, not meaner, just more careful about who I trust with what. The manuscript also includes Dolly's advice to younger artists, especially women. You can be kind without being a doormat, Dolly writes. You can forgive without forgetting. You can love people and still protect yourself from them. And anyone who tells you otherwise is trying to take advantage of you. She encourages women to trust their instincts. If someone makes you uncomfortable, there's a reason. Don't talk yourself out of that feeling. Don't make excuses for them. Don't blame yourself for not being more understanding. Your discomfort is information. Listen to it. The most surprising part of the manuscript is Dolly's reflection on her public persona. "I've built a career on being everyone's friend," she writes. The woman who never says a bad word about anyone, the eternal optimist, the peacemaker. And that's mostly true, but it's also performance. She talks about how maintaining that image has required her to suppress legitimate anger. "I've smiled through betrayals, laughed off insults, pretended things didn't hurt when they absolutely did, because that's what people expected from Dolly. And disappointing people felt worse than swallowing my pain." But at 79, Dolly's decided that protecting her image matters less than protecting her integrity. "I don't want to be remembered as someone who was too nice to tell the truth. I want to be remembered as someone who chose kindness when it was deserved and boundaries when it wasn't." The autobiography is scheduled to publish in fall 2026, and Dolly's team has confirmed she's standing by every word. The three names stay, the stories stay, the reflections on complicity and boundary setting stay. Industry insiders are predicting significant fallout, not just for the three people named, but for the broader conversation about how kindness is weaponized against women. Dolly's already received messages from other artists thanking her for speaking out. Women who've had similar experiences but felt like they couldn't say anything without being labeled difficult or ungrateful. "If my story gives even one person permission to set boundaries, it's worth whatever backlash I face," Dolly says in recent interviews. But Dolly's also clear that this isn't about revenge. "I don't want these people to suffer," she writes. "I just want the truth on record. I want people to know that even Dolly Parton has limits. And I want young women coming up in this business to know they don't have to smile through betrayal to be successful." She talks about the difference between holding grudges and holding people accountable. A grudge is when you keep reliving the hurt. Accountability is when you name what happened and move forward. "I'm not reliving anything. I'm just finally saying it out loud." Dolly Parton forgives almost everyone, but there are three names she'll never speak again. The producer who stole her songs and tried to erase her authorship. The actress who used cruelty disguised as jokes to undermine her debut. The business partner who stole from children while pretending to help them. For 60 years, Dolly protected these people, stayed silent, let them continue their careers without consequence. But at 79, she's chosen truth over peace, boundaries over likability, self-respect over image management. The manuscript is written, the publisher is printing, and in fall 2026, the world will see a side of Dolly Parton they've never seen before. Not bitter, not vengeful, just honest. And for a woman who spent her entire life performing endless grace, honesty is the most radical act she's ever committed. If this story changed how you see Dolly Parton, like this video. Comment below, is she right to name names, or should some things stay private? Share this so others understand that kindness doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. And subscribe for more stories about people who finally choose truth over performance. Stories about the cost of being nice. Stories that prove even saints have limits. Because Dolly Parton spent 6 decades being everyone's favorite person. And the price of that was carrying other people's sins in silence. At 79, she's decided that burden belongs to the people who earned it. The 3 names are coming, and Hollywood's about to learn that even Dolly Parton can only forgive so much. Are you ready for the truth?